Medical cannabis prevails at Nebraska's ballot box, but the fate depends on legal challenges, you guys. That's right. A majority of Nebraskans voted yesterday to embrace legalizing and regulating medical cannabis, though the final say will likely be up to the courts, not the ballot box. Both initiative measures 437 and 438 to legalize and regulate medical cannabis had a wide margin of support statewide. The measures came from the Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana campaign, and this was the campaign's third attempt to reach the ballot. It looks like third time was the charm, you guys. And whether medical cannabis becomes legal in the state post-election, however, depends on the outcome of legal challenges currently playing out in Lancaster County District Court, which we have been covering over the past few days. District Court Judge Susan Strong is weighing legal arguments following a 4-day trial about the validity of tens of thousands of already validated signatures on each measure's petition for ballot access. Her decision isn't expected for at least 2 weeks, you guys. And Strong rejected an attempt to prevent continuing or making public Tuesday's election results. The AP called the race in favor of Initiative 437 on Tuesday night just before midnight. And as of that time, the legalization ballot measure led with 71.2% of the vote. Initiative 438, the regulatory ballot measure, followed closely at 67.5%, and Initiative Measure 437, the Nebraska Medical Cannabis Patient Protection Act, would set an allowable amount of medical cannabis at 5 ounces, exempt patients and caregivers from penalty for using or assisting someone else in using cannabis, and require a written recommendation from a healthcare practitioner before prescription. Initiative Measure 438, the Nebraska Medical Cannabis Regulation Act, would define cannabis, legalize possession, manufacturing, distributing, delivering, and dispensing cannabis for medical purposes, and create the Nebraska Medical Cannabis Commission to oversee the new law. Krista Eggers, the campaign manager for the ballot measure, told the Nebraska Examiner on Tuesday that after more than a decade of fighting and 3 ballot attempts, in quotes, it solidifies for us that we have always been fighting for the right reason, they say. In an additional quote, we have been fighting for the patients in this state, and tonight's win is not because of a few people or one campaign, she said. Tonight's win is for the Nebraska patients, she says. And the legal challenges were bought by John Kuhn, a former state senator and former state Board of Health member who opposes medical marijuana, and Secretary of State Bob Envin, who launched his own challenges as part of Kuhn's lawsuit. Even though his office had already certified the ballot measures for this ballot, Attorney General Mike Hilger's office is defending Envin in this case, and Hilgers was opposed to legalizing medical cannabis and Delta-8, which contains THC, the compound in cannabis plant most commonly associated with getting high. Hilger served with Kuhn in the legislature, and so did one of Kuhn's attorneys, State Senator Andrew LaGrone. The lawsuit could end in one of few ways, you guys. Strong could side with Kuhn and Envin outright, avoiding the election results, and side with Kuhn and Envin, but allow the ballot sponsors to try to cure the invalidity of enough signatures in a second phase of the trial after the election.
Right the first time, bud.
Thank you. Side with the ballot sponsors outright, or ending lower court trial, which would leave the election results intact. And Strong and attorneys involved in the case have acknowledged that no matter who prevails, the decision is likely to be appealed to the Nebraska Supreme Court. Eggers, whose 10-year-old son, Colton, has epilepsy and severe seizures, there is still work ahead, and the campaign remains confident it will prevail in its court fight, Eggers said, and hopes that someday soon patients and loved ones will find hope and strength from a new treatment option. In an additional quote, the day that happens, that's when we know that we did our jobs, Eggers said. In an additional quote, it's not over, a lot ahead of us, but I think tonight speaks that Nebraska have had their voices heard once and for all on this issue. I would agree with that. And multiple legislative efforts, including some led by one of the ballot sponsors, State Senator Anna Wishart of Lincoln, had previously stalled moving the fight to the ballot box, and the campaign started in 2019 for the 2020 ballot with a constitutional amendment that Nebraska's Supreme Court ultimately ruled was too broad in violation of the Nebraska Constitution. And for the 2022 ballot, sponsors returned with separate petitions to legalize and regulate the drug, but they fell short of gathering enough signatures, in part after a major donor's death. The 2024 attempt is the furthest Nebraskans for medical marijuana has gotten, and the U.S. Department of Justice has formally moved to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug, which could aid future federal approval, you guys. Time will tell about all that because they've already delayed those things, but whatever. 38 states have legalized medical cannabis, while 24 of them, plus Washington, D.C., have also legalized adult use marijuana, and the other states, including Nebraska, allow limited access to cannabis products with little to no THC, according to the Pew Research Center. Nebraska's constitutional officers will meet on December 2nd to certify Tuesday's election results, and legal challenges can continue after that date, you guys. So much more still to go with this, but congratulations, Nebraska. It looks like you guys got out there and voted and finally made your voices heard, and a big win for medical cannabis in the Cornhusker state of Nebraska. What do y'all have to say about this?
It's a win for now.
Right. We gonna see. It's a big we gonna see for me. I mean, like, let's see. Like, yes, obviously we've heard what the people want, but we've also seen in South Dakota's example, you know, the will of the voter is not always what the government goes with. So, I mean, I hope this is a win for access. I hope this is a win for families and patients who need these products, but we will see.
Well, hopefully it'd be a wake-up call if after the election results they go, oh no, well, we're not going to let it be on the ballot, and take it away ab initio and just say, too bad, I don't care how you voted. We're going to find a procedural way to kill this. I don't think that will be good for the legislators in Nebraska. The people have spoken. They should find a way equitably to allow this, make sure the rules are fair so that you can verify the signatures. If you get it on there, let the people vote. But the will of the voters is what we're supposed to allow to prevail here, not go in a trial and get a judge to order that you didn't satisfy it. We're going to take it off the ballot and just rule it never happened. I don't think that would be a good thing to happen here.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on this, Omar?
Yeah, I think the will of the voters must always be executed.
I agree.
Instead of trying to find procedural technicalities to keep it from going into effect. But it's Nebraska, and I think it's outcome-oriented decision-making. They're going to decide what the right answer is first, and then find reasons to support their decision. And it's the opposite of rational decision-making.
I would agree with that, Omar. Let the will of the voters be heard. They obviously passed by an overwhelmingly majority, over 70%. That's a big number right there. If that was in Florida, they would have adult use right now.